We were discussing the topic of Imamate in leadership and the position of succession to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam and Shiism compared to the Umari school of thought. At this stage, we are focusing on the inculcations and teachings of the Umari denomination with respect to the question of Imamah. The Umari theologians believe that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam neither appointed anyone to succeed him as the leaders of the Muslim community as far as the period immediately after the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam is concerned, nor did he appoint anyone for the coming generations and centuries and eras and epochs in which Muslim society would need a leader or leaders. So he did not specifically appoint anyone. On the other hand, they also maintained that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam nor the Noble Quran left any instructions or directives through which the Ummah could know how the position of Imamah is filled and how a person becomes Imam and who is the Ummah to follow. So there's a total void in Islam. In the Umari version of Islam, there's a total void of instructions and teachings and directives from the Almighty Allah and all-knowledgeable Allah and His Prophet, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, as far as the question of Imamah is concerned. So if Allah didn't give any directives and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not leave any directives and instructions, any formula through which the Ummah would determine who its Imam is, nor the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam or Allah appoint specific persons, specific individuals on the position of Imamah, how is Ummah to determine who to follow and who is their Imam is and what are the rulings of Imamah? These are very interesting questions that Umari theologians need to address and answer. Before I elaborate these points, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, and prove to you that indeed that is the case in the Umari denomination, that they have alleged Almighty Allah of not guiding the Ummah and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam depriving the Ummah of his instructions. Before I reach there, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, I'll continue my two previous lectures on the subject, in which I said how the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, before his demise, how did he perceive the world ahead after his demise? How did he perceive the future? And I mentioned to you that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam addressed the people of Baqi and said that you are lucky, you are so fortunate that you have left this world and went and joined the eternal abode, because there will be days coming, there will be times coming that they would be like blankets of night, fitan and mischiefs, and times of travesty and debauchery and transgression, like blankets of night, one after the other, consecutively or continually will come. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Islam was initially a loner religion with very few followers, and very soon Islam again will turn to be a loner religion with very few followers, and Islam and its teachings and its followers would recede and become very scant and few between the two mosques of Mecca and Medina, just like a snake recedes into its hole. And then the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's position, his views, which his views obviously are in jibe with the views of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is consistent with reality in truth. And that is reality in truth. His statements with regard to Sahaba, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in uncountable number of ahadith narrated on the authority of most reliable Sahaba and most reliable scholars of hadith in the Umari denomination, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam professed that his Sahaba will turn apostate immediately after him. And their apostasy would not be on the account of them changing their religion, rather on the account of two things. One, innovations, changing the pristine teachings of Islam and introducing their own innovations as the orders and canons of Islam into the Sharia of Islam, which we call bid'ah. And second, that they would strive to achieve worldly pleasures and worldly status. And in the previous lectures, in detail, not in quite as much as detail that perhaps it's possible, but in a detail that's sufficient for this audience, I presented to you these ahadith and these narrations from the foremost reliable books of the Umari denomination. Likewise, in the previous two lectures, I told you that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that his Sahaba and his Ummah will follow the pathways of the previous nations of Bani Israel and Nasara. And we know the transgressions and the abuse that Bani Israel brought upon their religions, and rather religions of Allah, that the same would be pursued and followed and emulated in this nation by its Sahaba. And that these assertions of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his prognostications and predictions, they definitely encompass Sahaba, and it's not exclusive of Sahaba and pertinent to later generations. I brought extensive amount of evidence to that regard. So I urge those brothers and sisters who have not watched the previous lectures to, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, watch those lectures with great care and with great attention. Now we proceed further. How did the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, before his demise, how does he see through his divine eyes, through his divine wisdom, and through the insight and knowledge and perception that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted his Habib sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how did he perceive the world? How Allah in his knowledge knew the world that is to come after the demise of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? If it's a hunky-dory time to come, if it's a very rosy time to come, and people are so pious and God-fearing and their life is such blissful that there is no need for the appointment of an imam and a spiritual guide and someone who would be the guardian and caretaker of the ummah, that would be one case. Then one could see that it's perhaps because the coming times are so good and so pleasant, devoid of any conflict, devoid of any sort of challenge to religion, devoid of any attempts to bring in innovations into religion, then perhaps one may suggest that as such, there wouldn't be need for the appointment of an imam. But that's not the case. That is not the case. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if you keep into perspective what I've already presented to you, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam paints a very bleak and grim picture of the future. And in such a case, it would be unimaginable that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would not have the foresight, nor Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have the wisdom and foresight to either leave clear instructions with respect to imamah, that you can select or elect or appoint or choose your imam, or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, through his infinite wisdom, he would appoint someone to succeed the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But what's perplexing, and what is very self-evidently wrong and unimaginable is the fact that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala both, knowing all these facts, leave this huge blind spot, this huge area of darkness and ignorance and lack of guidance and lack of any instructions, and that would be the question of imamah. So, another set of hadith with respect to the future immediately after the demise of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This book is Al-Musannaf li Abd al-Razzaq al-San'ani, one of the foremost respectable and reliable and credible authors of hadith, and he is of the generations that precedes Bukhari and Muslim. And generally, Bukhari and Muslim have narrated from Abdul Razzaq, but they usually narrate with one or two intermediaries between them. So he precedes Bukhari and Muslim with one or two generations of transmitters of hadith. In this book of Al-Musannaf, volume number 10, published by Al-Maktab al-Islami in 1983, page number 156, hadith number 18,675, Abdul Razzaq narrates from Ma'mar, who narrates from Qatada, قال سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله بن سلام على كم تفرقت بنو إسرائيل. That the Nabi صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم inquired from Abdullah ibn Salam into how many denominations and sects and parties did Banu Israel split after, So Abdullah ibn Salam said على واحدة أو 72 فرقة. He said either 71 or 72 sects and parties. فقال Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said وأمتي أيضا ستفترق مثلهم. He said, likewise my nation, my ummah will split and will divide into like Bani Israel, will divide into different sects. أو يزيدون واحدة, or they would even generate one more sect. The number of denomination and sects that Muslims would split to would be more than Bani Israel. And then the next clause in this hadith, the next segment, should be a ring bell of warning for any Muslim, that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, كلها في النار إلا واحدة. All of these denominations of Muslims, they are condemned to the inferno of hell except one denomination. So all the sects of Islam that you see, and all of these sects are condemned, all of them are destined for hell, for the eternal damnation of the Lord, except one sect. Now this hadith has been narrated in the books of our brethren and also in our books through myriads of chains of narration. I present to you Kitab al-Sunan Ibn Majah al-Qazwini, volume number 2, published by Dar al-Ta'sil at the year 2014. There is, in Sunan Ibn Majah, there is a chapter called Babu Iftiraq al-Umam, the chapter of the division of various nations, divisions of the various nations. In this chapter, hadith, the first hadith, which would be hadith number 4020, Abu Hurairah narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, تفرقت اليهود على 71 فرقة وتفترق أمتي على 73 فرقة. That the Jewish, they split into 71 parties and denominations, and my ummah will divide into 73 sects, denominations. The next hadith is on the authority of Auf ibn Malik, who said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, افترقت اليهود على 71 فرقة. Banu Israel split into 71 sects. فواحدة في الجنة وسبعون في النار. One of those sects is fortunate to enter paradise, and the rest go to hell, and 70 of them go to hell. وافترقت النصارى على 72 فرقة. النصارى, the Christians, they split into 72 sects. ف71 في النار وواحدة في الجنة. 72 of those, 71 of those are condemned to fire of hell, and one would be entering Jannah. والذي نفس محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم بيده. I swear by that Lord in whose hands is the life and soul of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وآله. لتفترقن indeed أمتي على 73 فرقة. Indeed, my ummah will split into 73 sects, 73 denominations. فواحدة في الجنة وثنتان وسبعون في النار. And only one would find salvation into Jannah, into the gardens of the Lord, into paradise. وثنتان وسبعون في النار, and 72 of them are condemned to the inferno of hell. قيل يا رسول الله. It was asked, who are those? قال الجماعة. He said the group. Now obviously, al-Jama'ah, saying that al-Jama'ah, this is not very descriptive. There should be better description than this, better explanation than this, that who is the Jama'ah? Obviously, this amount of explanation that they are the Jama'ah, they are the group. Which group? That blessed group that out of all these 73 nations, 73 denominations, that only denomination is to be blessed with entering the paradise, and the Lord would be pleased with him. So it requires more explanation. But that's not our purpose, to identify right now which denomination that is, which is to find salvation. Obviously, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in myriad of ahadith and very repetitive and mutawatir ahadith, has pronounced clearly that I leave behind two mighty things. So long as you cling unto them and follow them, you will never ever go astray. And those two mighty things are Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So these sorts of ahadith, that the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are guaranteed by the words of Allah and by the words of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They are guaranteed salvation, and they are guaranteed that they will never go astray. They obviously and clearly give us clear demonstration as who that, in which denomination that is, which out of the 73 would be on the right path. But that is not our purpose right now. Our purpose is the following, that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knowingly, and he does not, obviously he does not profess these statements as a person himself. He professes these words as the messenger of Allah. So Allah, in his infinite knowledge, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as his guide and as his torchbearer, as the teacher of this ummah, he clearly defines a very bleak future for the Muslims, that the majority of Muslims will go astray. And now, obviously, if there are times that are coming that people will go astray and the majority of the ummah will go astray, it demands the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam leaves clear caretakers after him of the ummah, whose, if you follow them, if you listen to them, if you cling unto their teachings, that you would not go astray. And for the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam just to die, knowing all these facts and knowing that he will die, and Allah knowing all these facts and knowing that these times are coming, and he takes the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam away from this dunya without addressing the most pressing need of this ummah. That is unimaginable. That defies common sense. That cannot be the case. Okay. And then let's have a look at the following hadith. Hadith number 4022 in the same chapter. Anas ibn Malik narrates, إن بني إسرائيل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم said, بني إسرائيل افترقت على 71 فرقة وإن أمتي ستفترق على 72 فرقة كلها في النار إلا واحدة وهي الجماعة. Banu Israel, the children of Israel, they split into 71 sects, and my followers will split into 72 sects, and all of them will be in fire of hell except one nation, and that is the group, that is the Jama'ah. Okay. Now, are these ahadith valid or they are not reliable? Let's have a look. Okay. The book of Sahih Sunan ibn Majah lil-Hafiz Abi Abdullah Muhammad ibn Yazid al-Qazvini, verified and investigated and validated by the very severely Wahhabi scholar Muhammad Nasir ad-Din al-Albani, volume number 3, published in Riyadh at the year 1997. Page number 307, the Babu Iftiraq al-Umam, the first hadith I showed you, Hasanun Sahihun, Hasan and Sahih. The second hadith I read and translated for you is Sahih. The third hadith in this regard is also Sahih. Okay. So all these ahadith that I narrated to you, they were Sahih. Now let me present to you the English translation of these ahadith as translated by our brethren in Islam, the followers of the leadership of Umar. This is Sunnah.com, Sunan ibn Majah, Kitab al-Fitan, Babu Iftiraq al-Umam, the division of nations. Excuse me. Okay, the first hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the Jews split into 71 sects, and my nation will split into 73 sects. Okay. Next hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the Jews split into 71 sects, one of which will be in paradise and 70 in hell. The Christians split into 72 sects, 71 of which will be in hell and one in paradise. I swear by the one in whose hands is the soul of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, my nation will split into 73 sects, one of which will be in paradise and 72 in hell. It was said, O Messenger of Allah, who are they? He said, the main body. The main body. He said, Al-Jama'ah. Al-Jama'ah does not mean the main body. Al-Jama'ah means the group. So, the translator of this hadith has tried to convey that the majority, the main body, meaning the majority of Muslims, that whoever is in majority, they are the Jama'ah, and they would enter paradise. However, Jama'ah doesn't mean that. Jama'ah simply means the group. Jama'ah does not mean the main body. Rather, there is no indication in these ahadith that there will be 73 sects, and the main body will be the majority. There's no indication in these ahadith. That, as far as these ahadith are concerned, the group, the denomination that will enter paradise could be a small group, could be a big group, could be the majority, could be the minority. There is no indication as far as the numbers are concerned in this. What we know for a fact that 72 is the majority, right? 72 is probably more than one group, and they will all go to fire of hell. Okay. Now, because you saw this, that and the last hadith that I read to you from Sunan ibn Majah, it would be appropriate to show you the translation as well. Kitab Sunan ibn Majah. Okay. The children of Israel split into 71 sects, and my nation will split into 72, all of which will be in hell, apart from one, which is the main body. So, excuse me, which is the main body. Excuse me. Okay. Sahih. So they have said it's Sahih. So Al-Jama'ah, they have translated Jama'ah as the main body. And that is wrong. And that is because the translators of these ahadith, either they are biased or they are trying to portray one sect, which is a majority, portray them as the sect that is going to be fortunate to end up in paradise. However, let's have a look in the books of hadith. What when the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said al-jama'ah, the group, what does it literally mean? What does it really mean? This book is Tahdhib al-Kamal fi Asma' al-Rijal, volume number 22, published by Al-Mu'assasa al-Risala at the year 1992. Now, this is one of the very important books that is an encyclopedia, the most encompassing, perhaps, the most encompassing and inclusive and vastest encyclopedia of narrators of hadith and the Umayyad denomination. And perhaps no research of a hadith is devoid of need to this book. At this book, at page number 264, there's a discussion between Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and a person. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud says, Tadri mal jama'ah. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, do you know what is jama'ah? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the jama'ah will be, the group will be blessed to go to paradise. Who are they? I said, no. قال إن جمهور الجماعة الذين فارقوا الجماعة الجماعة ما وافق الحق وإن كنت وحدك. He said the majority of the Jama'ah have abandoned the Jama'ah. Majority of the nation of Muslims, they have abandoned the Jama'ah. The majority have abandoned the Jama'ah. Jama'ah الجماعة ما وافق الحق وإن كنت وحدك. Jama'ah doesn't have to do anything with numbers. Even if you're one person, if you are in concert with truth, if you are in accord with the teachings of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if you're one person, you are that Jama'ah. Jama'ah doesn't have anything to do with main body or the fringe body or being at the peripheries. Jama'ah could be one person. Jama'ah could be 10 people. Numbers doesn't have to do anything with it, as long as you are on the right path. وفي رواية, in another narration, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and he is one of the respected Sahaba of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَيْحَكَ إِنَّ جُمْهُورَ النَّاسِ فَارَقُوا الْجَمَاعَةِ. He said the majority of people at his time, and that is quite a startling revelation for not for the Shias, but for our brethren in Islam, that at the time of Sahaba are testifying at that time that the Jumhur of Nas, the majority of the Muslim society, they have abandoned the right path. So all this talk that you hear from our brethren in Islam about the Salaf, following the Salaf, Salaf themselves have testified that the majority of Salaf, they were not on the right path. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said the majority of people, who is talking about the majority of people? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. At Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's time, the majority of people at the time of Uthman, at the time of Umar, at those times, they were Muslims in Medina, Muslims in Mecca, Muslims in Bahrain, Muslims in Yemen, Muslims in Iraq. So Syria, these Muslims, he's talking about them. They are not on the right path. The majority of people have abandoned the Jama'ah, the right path. إن الجماعة ما وافق طاعة الله عز وجل. Jama'ah is that person or those people. Doesn't have anything to do with numbers or being the main body or at the peripheries. Jama'ah is whoever follows the teachings of Allah, the message of Allah. If you are in accord with the teachings of Quran and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then you are the Jama'ah. قال حميد بن زنجويه قال نعيم بن حماد في هذا الحديث. Nu'aym ibn Hammad is one of the masters of hadith on the authority of whom Bukhari and Muslim and many others narrate. So he said that this hadith means إذا فسدت الجماعة فعليك بما كنت عليه الجماعة قبل أن تفسد وإن كنت وحدك فإنك أنت الجماعة حينئذ. This narration means that if the majority of Muslims, the main body, the society of Muslims, they go astray, you should not go astray. And you should follow that path that Muslims followed before going astray. And in that case, you will be the Jama'ah, even if you're one person. You, one loner person, you are the Jama'ah. Ibn Taymiyyah has a student, his name is Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. He is a very well-known scholar and researcher and author, and his authorships are extensive, and he is especially respected and revered by the Wahhabi and Salafi community. This is his book, A'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, volume number 5, authored by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, who died in the year 751. Published in 1423 in Hijaz and Saudi Arabia. Page number 388, he has a long discussion that goes beyond one page, and I'll just read you one line. One line or two. وَعَلَمْ أَنَّ الْإِجْمَاعَ وَالْحُجَّةَ وَالسَّوَادَ الْأَعْظَمِ. Beware that ijma', consensus, hujjah. Many of you who have been Muslims long or coming from Islamic background, you know what hujjah means, so I don't need to translate. Proof. As-sawad al-a'zam, the main, sawad means black, the big black. Literally, it means the big black. As-sawad al-a'zam means the big black. So if you look at a body of people, at the army, at its ranks, army formation from a distance, it looks like a dark gathering. When you come close, you find it's an army. As-sawad al-a'zam, the big formation of people. So that means, sawad means people, a gathering of people. As-sawad al-a'zam, the bigger, the greater community of Muslims. So what is ijma', consensus? What is hujjah? What is as-sawad al-a'zam? As-sawad al-a'zam, the greater community of Muslims. It doesn't have to do, these terminology doesn't have to do anything with numbers. That you would count people who is more. No. It doesn't have anything to do with these. Whoever is in accord with the teachings of Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if they're a minority. هو العالم صاحب الحق. So beware that ijma', hujjah, sawad al-a'zam. These words apply to who? Who is the person whose these are his attributes? This is not the majority of Muslims. No, Sawad al-A'zam. He is the alim. He is that guide, that who is the flag bearer of the truth. Alim sahib al-haq. وَإِن كَانَ وَحْدَهُ. Even if he is one person. وَإِن خَالَفُ أَهْلُ الْأَرْضِ. If all of humanity, all of the people of earth are against him and defy him and disagree with him, doesn't make any difference. If he is on the path of Allah, if his words, his actions, his positions, his views, his pronouncements are in accord with Quran and the sayings of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is ijma', he is hujjah, he is the sawad al-a'zam. One person. Okay. So jama'ah doesn't have anything to do with this. With the translation that you saw, that jama'ah means the main body of Muslim, that's not true. At any rate. So these sets of ahadith that have been narrated, that the Muslim ummah will split into 73 sects and all of them will be destined to fire of hell. These ahadith have been narrated by the Umaris through reliable chains of narration, and these ahadith are sahih. And I've shown you only a few. There are many more ahadith than this. So if the majority of people of earth, my apologies, if the majority of Muslims out of 73 sects, 72 will not be on the right path and they will go astray, so much so that they will be condemned to fire of hell. And only one denomination, they would be blessed with entry to paradise. Now we all know that divisions of Muslims into different sects has happened on the account of the leaders they have followed. It's not been on the account of people. The people themselves, common Muslims, they do not cause splits. They do not cause divisions of the ummah into different sects. Division into sects and denomination, this occurs because of the people following different imams, and because of their different teachings, and because of different interpretations of the deen, and because of different narrations. And that's quite clear. So all of these divisions that have occurred, and because of these occurrence of these divisions, Muslims have gone astray, so much so that they are worthy of the wrath of the Lord, and they will be condemned to inferno of hell on account of imamah. Yet, imamah, ya Rasulullah, if you know so much that imamah, you know so much, you are saying that these things will occur, then why? You do not leave clear instructions. Whom should Muslims follow? So these divisions would not occur. These splits into various denominations would not occur. This is Al-Musnad li Ahmad ibn Hanbal, investigated by Ahmad ibn Muhammad Shakir, published by Dar al-Hadith in Qahira, volume number 8, published in year 1995. As you know, Sheikh Ahmad Muhammad Shakir is revered by Asha'ira and by the Salafis alike. So, page number 301, same hadith from Abu Hurairah, that Muslims would divide into 72 sects, and 72 sects has been narrated, and its sanad is sahih. Consider this, Al-Mustadrak ala Sahihain, volume number 1, published by Dar al-Kutub al-Ilmiyya at the year 2002. Let's go to hadith number 443, page number 218. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إن أهل الكتاب تفرقوا في دينهم على 72 ملة وتفترق هذه الأمة على 73 كلها في النار إلا واحدة. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said the Ahl al-Kitab, followers of the book, they split in their religion into 71 nations, and this ummah will split into 73. All of them are in hell except one nation. After narrating these ahadith and ahadith alike, Hakim says, فهذه أسانيد تقام بها الحجة في تصحيح هذا الحديث. He says this hadith has been narrated through so many various chains of narration that obviously this hadith is sahih and this hadith is hujjah. And in the footnote, Dhahabi, hadith number 443, in Talkhis al-Mustadrak, some synopsis of Mustadrak, summary of Mustadrak, Dhahabi says, هذه أسانيد تقوم بها الحجة. These asanid definitely prove the point, prove this hadith is indeed sahih. And there are many other, I do not bore you with more evidence in this regard. So, division of ummah into 73 sects, 72 of them would be in fire of hell, is a sahih hadith. And one nation would be saved. And the fact to retain in mind is that these divisions have not occurred because of Quran. These divisions have not occurred because of Sunnah. These divisions have occurred because of leadership, because of people in position of leadership causing divisions. So if leadership was not addressed by the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then he indeed did not care about his ummah. And if Allah did not give any instructions with respect to imamah and kept Muslims in darkness, and imamah, leadership, is the cause of all these divisions, then obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not do a complete job of guiding this ummah.